Hey guys, I'm making this video to cover my 2JZ NAT gs300. I've been building this car for about a year, working out all the kinks. It's been an interesting time figuring out how to get the car running correctly on the NA ECU, but I'm just wanting to share my formula that I've made to kind of make the car run correctly. Might be a little different than all the other people that have done this setup, but I found that this setup works the best for me. So what I have is a CX Racing GT35. It's a little big for the application, but it's cheap and easy to replace. A Greddy replica 50mm wastegate with a 2 to 3 pound spring in it. It's not too bad on the creep. In fact, it only hits about 7 to 8 pounds. That's just normal because of the way how these cars are with the automatic transmission. So past that, eBay intercooler, and then a 2.75 inch MAF housing. I was running a 3-inch MAF housing originally with these 7MG injectors, but for some reason the car was leaning out very much. I was thinking probably because of the fuel pressure that I had, but also the car wasn't really liking life with those injectors. So I swapped down to this 2.75 inch MAF housing, which is the stock size. And then I swapped to the stock injectors, but I decapped them. So I pulled the black plastic caps off of them. And then after that, there's a 1/8 inch NPT tapped to the stock fuel rail. And this quarter line running to a 1/4 inch Tomei fuel pressure regulator. And that goes back to the tank that has a 255 liter per hour QFS pump. If I were to do this setup again, I would probably do this with a Marlboro 450, because I'm assuming the reason why the car wasn't running correctly on the 7MGE injectors, the green tops, was because of the fact that I wasn't building ample fuel pressure from the start. But considering that the car is running really healthy right now, it probably was a blessing in disguise, because this combo has been working really well for me. It has the primary O2 sensors on the 1st and 6th cylinder header collector, and no secondary O2 sensors, which does throw a check engine light. But I'm thinking that because of the fact that the secondary O2 sensors aren't hooked up, the car is trying to adjust and lean out, richen out the car. And because of that, whenever the ECU adapts, it does run about 10 to 11 AFR at wide open throttle, which is quite healthy considering the fact that most other NAT setups that I've seen, they're running 13 to 13.5, which kind of does seem a little dangerous to me. This setup seems really reliable for me to beat on. I've kind of put it through its paces, but not as much as I wanted to. I planned to take this car to a drift track, but I just never got to it. The stock transmission, actually, about that. It's an auto transmission, but it's shimmed with the accumulator shim mod. And because of that, I had to add this 25-row oil cooler. I didn't add a thermostatic switch, but the car isn't acting up, and it seems to shift really, really well. It's a healthy transmission. Other than that, I'd say there's really nothing much else to this setup. It's really simplistic and kind of easy to do. So these are actually the vacuum lines that I blocked off. This is the injector air assist, and this went off somewhere to the back, and this looped around. And I'm running a open PCV breather with filters. Most people run catch cans or whatever, but open PCV is plenty fine. The engine runs fine. And also, if the engine does have blow-by, it's very easy to tell. It'll just start smoking from the filters, which is probably one thing that you would have to consider with a GE setup. If you run it too lean, combustion temps are going to be higher. The ring lands are going to be more prone to cracking. And then you'll have blow-by, which will probably kill the engine. The rest of the car is pretty basic. It's just got coilovers, a welded differential. Not much else there. I did do the steering ECU mod. I took out the 4,000 ohm resistor and put in a 150 ohm resistor. Feels a lot nicer. There's a lot more weight to the steering. If I were to do anything else, I would probably add an alignment to this thing because it could use a little bit more toe out in front. But only reason I'm saying that is because, as you could tell, I was trying to work on getting the car to self-steer a little bit better when I was sliding it. genuinely, I think it's just a tow out issue. I just never got this car aligned. So if it had an alignment in the front and had camber arms in the rear, it would be perfect to slide. The way how I set up the automatic ECU, I wanted to put a hydro in this car and just start using that shit. That's why I never put a thermostatic cooler on the cooler, because I thought it was just going to be like taking the abuse anyways. There would be no point. But it runs really well. I wish I could add some more to this car, but at this point I'm thinking I'm just gonna have to move on. I already have 2 other broken ass cars that I need to start working on. I can't wait to show you guys those cars. But yeah, the hood exit honestly is one of my favorite things about this car, because it's just something that I wanted to try. Initially I was gonna put a downpipe on this car and do a full exhaust, but with the hood exit, I get to see the thing shooting flames out the hood. It's just a fun time. You just got smiles on your face just driving this thing. It's not that fast, but seeing those flames shoot up, it definitely gets the adrenaline pumping. But it's not that bad. Like, compared to an exhaust that would run under a car, you would have drone resonance frequencies and stuff like that traveling through the car. But considering the fact that it just shoots up, like before it gets towards the cabin, there's not that much drone. If you close all the windows, it's really like pretty quiet. I was expecting it to be a lot worse. I think that's everything that I really need to cover for this NAT setup. If you guys have any questions about getting your NAT setups working, you can just hit me up on Instagram. And also, if you're interested in buying the car, I am located in Central California near NorCal. The car hasn't been put through much ever since I owned it. I just got the car running reliably, and then I had to list it up because I got other cars that I need to work on. I just gotta move on. This build was really nice. I have some sentimental value for this car. It was my first engine swap and my first turbo build. But I guess it's just time to move on, and I can't wait to see this thing actually get some use. And yeah, I think that's about it. So I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.